Real estate is one of the oldest wealth-building machines in the world, and yet most people only understand one small piece of it. Buy a house, wait, sell it for more. That's not even close to the full picture. Property can generate money in several different ways at once, sometimes all from the same building. So how does this entire system actually work? Let's follow the money from empty land to real profit. Every real estate project starts with land, but land isn't valuable just because it exists. Its price depends on location, access, and what's legally allowed to be built there. A well-positioned plot can become dramatically more valuable simply as the area around it develops. That's why choosing the right land is often the single most important decision in the entire business. Buying that land can require serious capital before a single wall goes up. Some developers use their own money, but most combine it with bank loans and outside investors, a strategy called leverage. Using a smaller amount of your own money to control a much larger asset. It can dramatically increase returns, but it increases risk in exactly the same way. And even before construction starts, zoning laws decide what can legally be built on that land at all. A single change in those rules can raise a property's value overnight. Once financing is secured, construction begins. Materials, labor, permits, engineering. Every delay or cost overrun eats directly into profit. But when it's managed well, the finished building can be worth significantly more than the land and construction costs combined. A finished building on its own still isn't enough, though. Infrastructure around it, roads, utilities, parking, makes the property usable, and good infrastructure pulls in more buyers and tenants. Developers also have to create demand through marketing, because a great property that nobody knows about generates nothing. Some developers don't even wait for construction to finish. Through pre-sales, buyers reserve units early with deposits, giving the developer cash flow before the building is done, in exchange for the obligation to deliver exactly what was promised. When the property finally sells, the price has to cover land, construction, financing, and marketing, and whatever's left over is profit. But here's the part a lot of people miss. Selling isn't the only way real estate makes money. It's arguably not even the best way. Instead of selling, an owner can rent the property out and collect payments every month. That creates recurring cash flow while they keep the asset itself. If rental income stays above the mortgage and operating costs, the building can generate profit month after month and still remain valuable on its own. Of course, that income doesn't arrive on autopilot. Someone has to find tenants, collect rent, and keep the place maintained, which is its own ongoing cost. And rental real estate isn't one single market. Residential properties rent to individuals and families. Commercial space rents to offices and businesses on longer leases, which means more predictable income. But an empty commercial unit can sit generating nothing while costs keep running. Retail is really a bet on foot traffic. You're renting access to customers, so when a location stays busy, rents can climb. But when traffic falls, landlords feel it fast. And industrial real estate, warehouses, distribution centers, rents to companies that often stay for years once they've invested in a facility, which makes it one of the more stable categories. Most investors don't buy property outright in cash either. They use a mortgage, putting down part of the price and borrowing the rest, which lets them control a much bigger asset with a lot less of their own money. If the property performs well, that leverage can amplify returns significantly, but interest rates change this math constantly. Lower rates make borrowing cheaper and let buyers afford more. Higher rates push the other way, raising costs, squeezing cash flow, and often pushing prices down as fewer buyers can afford to compete. Real estate can also grow in value without being sold or rented more aggressively at all, simply through appreciation, as cities grow and demand for land increases over time. But investors don't always wait for that to happen on its own. They can force it. Renovating, improving amenities, cutting vacancies, because income-producing property is often valued directly off the income it generates, so raising that income raises the property's value too. And when a property's value rises, an owner doesn't need to sell to access that wealth. They can refinance, take out a new, larger loan, pay off the old one, and pocket some of the difference in cash. They still own the property. They just carry more debt against it, which makes strong cash flow even more important going forward. Meanwhile, every mortgage payment is quietly building equity, the property's value minus what's still owed. So over years, a relatively small initial investment can turn into something much larger. None of this is free, though. Property taxes hit every year, and profits get taxed again on rental income or on sale. Buildings need constant maintenance. Roofs, plumbing, and major systems eventually fail, and those costs can consume months of profit in one hit. Vacancy is one of the biggest risks in the entire business. When a tenant leaves, rent stops, but the mortgage, taxes, and insurance don't. And a single disaster, a fire, a flood, can wipe out years of gains, which is exactly why insurance is a permanent cost of doing business here, not an optional one. Location and market timing matter just as much as the building itself. Two nearly identical properties can be worth completely different amounts, depending on what's around them: jobs, transit, schools, and the entire market moves in cycles. Strong economies push rents and prices up. Recessions push them back down. Real estate has never moved in a straight line, no matter how solid the property is. For investors who scale, this is where it gets powerful. Cash flow, equity, and refinancing can fund the next purchase. That property funds the one after it. Repeated carefully over years, this turns one property into an entire portfolio, though managing a portfolio becomes a business of its own, which is why many investors eventually hire professional property managers instead of running everything themselves. And you don't need to own a building at all to take part in this. Real estate investment trusts, REITs, pool money from many investors to own income-producing property, passing a share of the rental income back as dividends, without anyone having to fix a single leaking roof. So real estate doesn't make money in just one way. Rent creates cash flow. Mortgage payments build equity. Properties appreciate. Smart improvements push value even higher. But debt, vacancy, taxes, and market cycles create real risk at every step. The real business of real estate isn't owning a building. It's balancing all of these forces well enough, for long enough, to build wealth over time.